Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News channel. I'm going to do a wee post-match reaction to the Celtic 2-0 loss at Hearts yesterday afternoon. A wee bit of analysis of the game, a wee bit of analysis of the controversial incidents, and a wee bit of a discussion regarding the next few weeks, and also an update on the Liel Abada transfer. Apologies to start with. I'm feeling a wee bit under the weather today. Got a dose of the flu, sore throat, sore ear, sore head, a bit of a cough, etc. So a bit under the weather. So apologies for any sniffing, coughing, or hoarseness of my voice. And sorry also for maybe not being as lively and cheerful as sometimes I am. However, hopefully the analysis still will be good enough and stimulate some discussion and thoughts amongst all us Celtic fans. Before we get going as well, just a quick reminder to those who haven't subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. There's the like button for those who like the video, and also, as I said, the comment section for those who want to pop in a wee comment as part of the discussion, and I'll reply as quick as I can and address in videos as we go through this week in preparation for the Livingston match at the weekend. So obviously, in the end, a disappointing result. For me, not necessarily a disappointing performance. I thought the players did try. They tried right from the start to right to the end. We had quite a number of chances throughout the game. Zander Clark was given man of the match by many outlets, which I think always is quite a significant decision in a game. Ida and Kyogo both had a couple of good shots on goal that were saved by by Clark. Matt O'Reilly had a rebound shot that was well blocked by one of the defenders. Both Liam Scales and Cameron Carter-Vickers at corners had free headers completely unmarked from about 6-9 yards out that they really should have got on target. And critically, of course, we missed a penalty very early in the match. Saying that, Hearts played with hustle and bustle. They hassled us in all three zones. They took over midfield, which I think was probably where the game was won and lost, taking over midfield pretty much when we vacated midfield in Brendan Rodgers' changes in response to Yang sending off. The Brendan Rodgers laid the blame squarely at John Beaton and the referee and the assistant referees. And I don't think anybody would disagree that VAR decisions in this game went against us. Yang's penalty for me was a softish penalty, but Cochrane did make contact with Yang as Yang went through to cross or shoot. That was, for me, a potential penalty. The referee on the pitch gave it, and John Beaton in the VAR room agreed there wasn't a clear and obvious error, and the penalty stood. Unfortunately, Adam Ida missed his first professional kick as a penalty taker. Up until yesterday, he had, from my analysis of available stats, Ida had never missed a penalty for Norwich, Republic of Ireland, Celtic, or for various different Norwich youth level teams down south. So it was rather sad that he chose yesterday's game to miss his first professional penalty. To be honest, it wasn't a terribly good penalty. It's often the one which goes in and you thank your luck because the goalkeeper slightly overdived. This time Zander Clark managed to keep his toes just enough in the middle of the goal to deflect the ball, and the ball went clear rather than bouncing back to Ida or another Celtic player coming into the box. So we had the chance to go 1-0 up. I think the game could have potentially been quite different. Had Ida scored that goal, it would have meant we would have had other options when Yang got sent off. For me, the Yang sending off was again harsh. I can perfectly well see why a lot of people are saying it should be a red card, in that Yang's foot was rather high. The thing to be would be, had Cochrane come in also with his boots equally high, nothing would have happened. Had Cochrane come in at the same time as Yang rather than coming in a couple of seconds later. But the reason why Yang's high boot was potentially dangerous was the fact that Cochrane came in a couple of seconds later than Yang had got to there, and came in with his head slightly stooped, and so it looked worse than it was. I think the thing we all should remember, and John Beaton on VAR should have remembered, was the referee had an excellent view of it. The assistant referee had an excellent view of it. They both thought it was a yellow card, and the freeze frames you get with VAR, so often when the VAR referee chooses to do a freeze frame of a challenge, often look far, far worse than the continuous normal time footage. Very similar to Dyson Maida's red card in the Madrid match, where basically an innocuous challenge, player goes down like a ton of bricks as if he's been killed, and VAR intercedes, and the boot sliding up as part of the challenge, blocking the ball, suddenly becomes a red card that changed that game, although we were destined to lose that game anyway. And the other thing that I've said to quite a few people is that many, many similar high boot challenges have gone completely unpunished, as was the case in a very similar situation last week against Motherwell, where one of the Motherwell defenders had a high boot catching one of our players. Can't remember exactly which one won, but it could well have been Yang. No yellow card, no foul, just play on. We've had similar high boots not being given a yellow card and kept as a yellow card. And we also have to remember, as I mentioned in a reply to one of the subscribers, the viewers, who often pops his very erudite, impassioned comments into the comment section, that when Alistair Johnson had his skull broken by the Hibs defender, that stayed as a yellow card. When the Aberdeen centre-back knocked Kyogo unconscious, took Kyogo out for 10 to 14 days of training with concussion and post-concussion syndrome, that stayed as a yellow card even after VAR reviewed it. So there have been plenty serious challenges. I fully accept that the Hibs player, when he broke Johnson's face, it was accidental. I suspect that the Aberdeen player, when he took out Kyogo from the back with head-on-head contact, was probably accidental, with a degree of trying to rough up Kyogo. Those stayed as yellow cards. As I said, the high boots multiple times this season all over Scotland. Some have been red cards, some have been yellow cards, some have been nothing at all. My feeling is that the rules of VAR are clear and obvious error. For me, the yellow card from the referee and the assistant referee, both within good, easy distance, able to see the full dynamics of the challenge, they thought it was a yellow card, and I think it should have stayed a yellow card. And I would have said exactly the same thing had it been Cochrane's high boot hitting Yang accidentally in the head. And the same with the rather ridiculous penalty kick. Iwata looking the opposite way, falling, knocked off balance. His arm goes out so that he doesn't hurt himself when he lands on the ground. He's simply putting his arm out to balance himself, as anybody would do when they're coming down from a header and they're knocked off balance. There is a lot of dubiety regarding this handball rule. The things that I remember particularly is, as a Liverpool fan, seeing the Arsenal player putting his hand down to get his balance. The ball hits his hand. It wasn't given as a penalty because the Arsenal player was gaining his balance, and so the hand going out to the side was accidental. We then also had the fact that Connor Goldson palming the ball over the bar in a previous Rangers Celtic match. That was said to be he was just defending his face. The fact that it was two hands pushing a shot that was net bound over the bar was ignored by John Beaton and Willie Collum. John Beaton being the standing referee and Collum being the VAR referee. Um, for me, John Beaton went over and above the role of the VAR referee. They're supposed to be there to correct clear and obvious errors. In most other sports where there is a third umpire, such as in cricket, or a TV referee, as there is in American football and rugby, and many, many other sports, the benefit of the doubt tends to be always given to the official on the pitch rather than looking for evidence to overturn the referee, umpire, etc., on the pitch. Because it is supposed to be righting clear and obvious errors, i.e., player goes down in the box, there's absolutely no contact on them, should not have been given as a penalty, or offside is the clearest one, where the lines go on the pitch and you're offside or you're onside. The handball it should be far simpler, and again, I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens this year, like Iwata's and much more egregious, not being given, and I've seen a couple like Iwata's facing the wrong way, falling down, arm goes out to balance yourself, and it accidentally hits you on the elbow. One of the other YouTube contributors did a very nice piece on this. None of the Hearts players thought that was in a million years a penalty, and I thought quite significantly, even Chris Boyd in the Sky Studios didn't think it was a penalty, and the Hearts manager, another ex-Rangers player, Naismith, he didn't think it was a penalty either. So I think those things are all relevant factors. Having said that, I don't think many Celtic players were really on good form yesterday. I think Kyogo had a decent game second half. Ida had a decent game throughout the whole game. It just felt like both Ida and Kyogo were about one step behind where they needed to be when they got into the box, not quite having that extra split second of time to make their good finish, or extra split second to get just half a yard onto the ball to make contact with their head or their boot to turn it net bound. In defence, I thought Liam Scales was very poor, and Celtic looked a wee bit disorganised at times, and it was quite significant that when the Hearts player fell over in the box, the ball then ricocheted. It was Lawrence Shankland who was first to the ball rather than one of our defenders. We just kind of looked at it as it squirmed back towards the edge of the box. None of our players closed down Shankland. None of our players tried to get to the ball before. It was just a wee bit of ball watching, which cost us very dearly. Saying that, as I've said in a couple of replies, we are basically the same situation as we were at the start of the weekend. Don't think many people would have picked Rangers to lose 2-1 to Motherwell. I thought Rangers looked very nervy, rather panicky, disorganised. I think they did not respond very well to going a goal down early yet again. Against Kilmarnock, they pulled the game back. Against Motherwell, they never really looked like they were going to pull the game back. They got a slightly dodgy penalty. Then, as is often the case, Tavernier's very poor defending was exploited at the back post, and Motherwell got what I thought was a very deserved win, because they were, for the most part, from watching the highlights and reading the text commentary, they were the better team. We went to the third best team in Scotland, who have been, up until the Rangers 5-0 loss, in very excellent form. They'd had, prior to that game, 11 wins, 1 draw. They then got thumped by Rangers, and then they struggled to a lucky draw against Hibs. However, they were in, up until that point, excellent form. Hearts played very well. Hearts played overall probably better than Celtic, But looking at the stats, the possession was pretty much 50-50. Shots at goal and shots on goal and corners, again, were all pretty much 50-50. And remembering for that, Celtic were down to 10 men for the best part of 34 minutes in the first half and 49 minutes in the second half with all the added time. So looking ahead, our next game again against Livingston in the Cup. Then we have a couple of games either side of the international break with St Johnstone and Livingston. And then we have the vital game against Rangers at Ibrox at the start of April. So by the time we get to the Rangers fixture on the 7th of April, we should have Rio Hatate fully back into the team, fully fit. We should have Callum McGregor fully fit and back into the team. And we should have had Alistair Johnston, Greg Taylor, Cameron Carter-Vickers, all having had several games to get back to full match fitness. We'll have Yang back available wide on the right. We'll have hopefully Palma Maeda in good form. We'll hopefully have Kuhn at last showing the potential that he supposedly had in his 18 months at Rapid Vienna. And we'll have Kyogo and Ida bang in form to score the goals, take their chances, which they unfortunately got close to yesterday doing, but failed. So for me, their future is still in Celtic's hand. If we win all our games from now to the end of the season, no matter what the other teams do, no matter what the referees say, no matter what VAR does, we will triumph. We can afford, as things stand, to draw the Ibrox game. And as long as we win all our other games, we will win the title. As the two fixtures yesterday and on Saturday proved, other teams in Scotland can take points off the top two. And so we should go into the next few weeks full of hope, supporting the players, supporting the club as best we can, supporting them wholeheartedly, as vocal support away from home and a crescendo of noise at Celtic Park will help the players play at their best, as was the case at Motherwell and as was the case at the game against Dundee a few days later. And of course, yesterday there was a pitiful number of Celtic fans allowed in to a rather deserted Tynecastle from what I saw on TV. One other piece of news that's really quite significant, it would appear that the transfer of Liel Abada to Charlotte in Major League Soccer is soon to go through. The initial fee is £8 million, rising with performance bonuses, etc., to 11 million. I think, given all the circumstances, given the time of year, that 8 million rising to 11 is entirely reasonable. I think had we sold him earlier, such as in the summer transfer window, we might well have got somewhere in the region of 12 to 15. However, circumstances changed. I, for one, am sad to see Abada go. He had an excellent first season, lots of goals, lots of assists. Second season, more coming off the bench as Jota and Maeda were the primary starters in the two wide positions. However, coming off the bench, he did have a reasonable number of goals and assists. He started this season fairly brightly and unfortunately got a bad injury, and then the political circumstances at home complicated matters, and I think he found it very hard rehabbing from his leg injury and also coping with all the stress of the situation at home and the politics that was thrust upon him unwantedly. And so I think Celtic have done the right thing in letting Abada go, allows him to restart his career, and the fee we've got for him in the end is reasonable and can be reinvested in the summer window, when hopefully the new scouting and recruiting team do a miraculous job recruiting players who want to come and play in Scotland, who are also top quality and proven quality as well. So we'll finish things off at there. Again, apologies for any croakiness and coughing and spluttering. Hopefully this cold flu virus thing will be a bit better by tomorrow. Just a wee reminder for all those new to the channel who've enjoyed the video and had a wee look at the other content on the channel, please do click that subscribe button. Get things pushing up from 400 to 500 would be wonderful. Please do click the like button if you've liked the video, and do feel free to pop your comments into the comment section. So for today, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, goodbye, and hail, hail.